My name is Amina Franse, South African born, lived and worked through apartheid to a democratic South Africa. I'm a journalist, I'm a media activist, I'm a media advocate for free speech. I heard about the Hizmet and read about the Hizmet movement in bits and pieces, but I would say probably about 10 years ago I actively got interested in what this Hizmet movement is. And I've been fascinated and encouraged and inspired by this movement that was started in Turkey. You know, the Hizmet movement is supposed to be a kind of a service movement. And I think in South Africa we can probably compare to something that we call Ubuntu. I am because you are. I am because we are. What Hizmet is doing in South Africa, from what I know and what I've experienced personally firsthand, what I've been involved in, is I think the tremendous outreach programs that are there that's contributing to, in a country such as ours, divided previously by race and class and everything else, you know, the outreach programs which deals with dialogue. It's also very actively and very practically involved in alleviating some of our challenges in South Africa that we have, contributing to our education backlogs that we have and education challenges that we have in our society. We're a rich country, but we have challenges. One of the principles of Islam is, you know, giving zakah. So if you broaden that, it's sharing your wealth, it's sharing what you have, it's sharing what you have in surplus. And I think this is probably one of the central tenets of the Hizmet movement. It is not politicized, as far as I know, not in the direct sense of the word, but it uplifts people, it assists, it uplifts, it educates, it helps, it unifies people of all faiths, not only in the Muslim community, in all faiths. It's a humanist movement. It's people of all walks of life that are, you know, adherents of the Hizmet movement. So it's a philosophy that I, as a person, can freely adopt, that I can freely accept, that I can freely publicize, that I can freely live and practice. The Hizmet movement in South Africa, for example, attends to so many people who are not that fortunate in life. For example, the charitable acts that's taking place, the feeding of people, the educating of people, and more especially the feeding of the less fortunate people, and especially at certain centers throughout the country, and especially in Johannesburg. There is you know, an amazing center which is built by Uncle Ali, you know, I think a very prominent adherent of the Hizmet movement, and I've seen hundreds of people being fed daily during you know, the month of Ramadan. Once again, Muslim basis, Muslim philosophy, but reaching out to everyone. The Hizmet movement are there to assist, to help, to develop. They're not as politicized as other movements that I'm familiar with. They're not directly involved politically, as far as I know. They steer away from the politics of the day. But I think it's a question of self-defense at the moment. The interfaith activities is certainly a highlight on the Hizmet or Turkish Harmony Institute calendar, certainly a highlight. At the moment we live in the times of COVID, but before that we've had amazing gatherings. It certainly has opened the eyes, I think, of so many people, young, not so young, even older people, in terms of creating and creating tolerance, I would say, of other faiths. I think they are the people that I've met and I've seen and be present at the interfaith dialogues that normally wouldn't interact. Their paths wouldn't cross. They would have no reason to perhaps get together, meeting in people's homes, instead of at a big public space under the present circumstances. But I think whatever seed is planted, whatever is started as the interfaith dialogue, I think people continue to have friendships after that, friendships which wouldn't be normal. I think people have become friends and learning to get to know each other and living together in a more tolerant society, more socially cohesive society, if you want to use that word. The schools are just tremendous in our society. They've contributed so much and so much visibly towards our educational development of our people. I've met some of the kids going there, I've met some of the teachers teaching there, and I've met some of the people directing the schools as well. What struck me is the passion and commitment of the young teachers. Some of the young teachers I've met, it was amazing to find young female teachers, maths teachers, science teachers, who are contributing to our teaching curriculum. The commitment, the passion, they're doing something right in terms of continuing to motivate people, continuing to motivate the youth, to do well in these very challenging times, not only in South Africa but globally. So I think they really are shining on our horizon, and the academic records are there to show. I've also managed to visit Hizmet schools outside South Africa, in Mozambique, for example, and we have the same story there. Committed people, prizes are being won. They do well in international competitions as well as locally. Mandela is world renowned, the most famous political prisoner who became president. I was fortunate enough to be close to him. I was fortunate enough to work closely with him, and what he preached. He spent 27 years in prison, which is well known. But he emerged from prison without hatred, without wanting to take revenge. He emerged democratic, and when he emerged, as I said, without hatred, but he preached the kind of tolerance and peaceful coexistence that is evident in what the Hizmet movement is preaching, what Mr. Fethullah Gülen is preaching, what Mr. Fethullah Gülen is the adherent of. So there are amazing parallels between Mr. Mandela and Mr. Gülen. There's no pressure. You adopt the practice of Hizmet. You implement the practice of Hizmet. You spread the practice of Hizmet. So whether it's intercultural dialogue, whether it's peacefully living together, peaceful coexistence, whether seeing people as people and not see race or class or color as a barrier, I think that is important. So there are many parallels that one can make between Mr. Fethullah Gülen's Hizmet movement and what Mandela stood for. I was fortunate enough to meet Mr. Fethullah Gülen as well, and I have been astounded and amazed at the simple lifestyle, humanist philosophy of Hizmet that he is spreading amongst so many people in Turkey and around the world. I think that for me is just something that I keep and treasure with me forever. He's lived in the United States for a number of years now, and there have been efforts to extradite him, to call him a terrorist, like they called Mandela a terrorist. But there's no such thing. He is humble. He has a very, very deep sense of what humanity is all about. He has a very deep insight, I think, and he must have had this insight at a very early age to realize, how this very simple movement of service would grow in all aspects and all aspects of life in Turkey and elsewhere. He has inspired, I think, he's inspired generations, and he's continuing to inspire generations of people. He's given us his time, he's given us his energy, he's given us his passion, and he continues to be a leader. He's been recognized in some circles, including Time magazine, and I personally want to wish him all the very, 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 very best of health and well-being, and continued prayers for his health and well-being and those around him. It saddens me that there are so many thousands of people in Turkey, people who are found guilty of nothing, innocent people, men, women and children. They've been deprived of their livelihoods in Turkey. Their professional institutions have been smashed. Mothers and babies are incarcerated in prison in Turkey. So what kind of regime, what heartlessness is there? And those neighbors and friends and family who want to help and assist some of those children left without parents, parents are in prison, even those people are being incarcerated. Those people are unable to render assistance. So it's a regime of terror, a regime of fear that is currently still in operation in Turkey for the past, I would say, 4 or 5 years, since the coup in 2016. I don't know how one can give hope and encouragement to those behind bars. It's not easy. It is going on for far too long. It is prolonged. It affects people's mental state of mind. And what about those children? There are over 600 children in prison. They're growing up in prison. What stimulus do they have? What environment do they live in? What are they being subjected to? What are their parents being subjected to? And the long-term effects of this on the parent as well as the child, emotionally and psychologically, that must be one of the most difficult things in the world, because a child looks up to a parent as a hero. Help me out of the situation, you know, help me grow, help me develop, be my hero. I think that is almost natural. None of that can happen. The little kids see their children as incarcerated, as downtrodden, perhaps as defeated, perhaps as helpless, and this must have an impact on early learning of children, those little children that were in prison, as well as the mental state of the parents themselves. So it must be very, very hard. But I think we are outside. We try and show solidarity. We try and lobby. We try and get involved. We try and also lobby our politicians, you know, to not let this go unnoticed. There are gross human rights violations by in continuing to incarcerate men, women and children in prison who have done nothing other than perhaps suspected of being adherents of a philosophy. How do you charge people to you know, to be a member of a philosophical movement which is there to serve the people? I hope you know, we as the international community will continue to give support and solidarity to those who are on the run, who had to flee their homes, those who are in prison. It is a very difficult situation, very, very difficult. You are helpless, but please don't be hopeless. We are aware of your imprisonment. We are aware of your conditions. We are aware of some of the conditions that you and your children, those who have children behind bars, babies behind bars, we are aware of some of your conditions. We not only hope and pray, but we hope to do a lot more solidarity action. Do not feel alone. We hope there will be a better future. I come from a society where thousands of people have been incarcerated over the years, long-term prisoners as well as those not so long-term prisoners. We've had several states of emergencies in South Africa, and 30,000 people at the time were imprisoned. Amongst those, my mother and two sisters, for example, arrested under emergency regulations with all kinds of trumped up charges against them. So I can say, please don't lose hope, please don't lose faith. We are with you, we are aware, we are watching the human rights violations that's being perpetrated daily on you and your family, those inside of prison, those inside the country who are trying to assist or trying to help, and those in exile. Please don't lose hope. We are with you in solidarity, and the international community is keeping a watchful eye and a watchful brief, and we'll see what is possible to be done. I think more South African people need to follow what the Hizmet movement is doing in South Africa as far as reaching out, as far as development is concerned. I think we need to combine forces more than we have from our South African side. But the Hizmet movement doesn't have to do anything more than just continuing to be here, enjoy what you can, in whatever. Our challenges in society are many, and we are grateful for what the Hizmet movement is doing in South Africa. So I think, please carry on doing what you are doing. It's making a huge difference, especially on the education front as well. Our people need you, our schools need you, our politicians need you, we need you. So thank you very much to the Hizmet movement and those who are continuing to work amongst us, despite the persecution, despite the challenges. So thank you very much.